This is Joe back again with a mini documentary on the Grumman F4F Wildcat. The Wildcat is an American carrier-based fighter that entered service in 1940 with the United States Navy and the British Royal Navy. It was the only effective fighter available to the Navy and Marine Corps during the early part of World War II in the Pacific. It was powered by the 1,200 horsepower Pratt & Whitney R-1830 76 14-cylinder air-cooled radial piston engine, turning a 3-bladed constant-speed propeller. With a max speed of 331 miles per hour, a range of 845 nautical miles, and a service ceiling of 39,500 feet, which was pretty good performance for a fighter plane before the war. But with the Japanese Zero being faster, more maneuverable with a longer range, made the Wildcat somewhat obsolete by the time the war started. U.S. Navy pilots were greatly dissatisfied with the Wildcat's inferior performance against the Zero, to say the least, in the battles of Midway and the Coral Sea before that. Lessons learned from the Wildcat would later be put to good use in the design and development of the F4F Wildcat. Grumman's original design for a naval fighter was to be a biplane with retractable landing gear. At that time, the U.S. Navy favored a monoplane design, however, the Brewster F2A-1, which would be known as the Buffalo. A later redesign of the airplane to meet modern performance expectations would be keeping the fuselage tail and the retractable gear into the body. While the Wildcat was generally outperformed by the Mitsubishi Zero during the Pacific theater, it still was able to hold its own due to relatively heavy armor and self-sealing fuel tanks. Its airframe could survive far more damage than its lightweight, unarmored Japanese rival. At the Battle of Midway, 6 Wildcats from Fighting Squadron 3 were the sole protection of the USS Yorktown's 12 torpedo planes and 17 dive bombers that attacked the Japanese carrier strike force earlier on June 4th, 1942, launching nearly 2 hours after the USS Enterprise and USS Hornet had. The Wildcats were led by then Lieutenant Commander Jimmy Thatch, and were the only fighters to engage the Japanese over their ships that morning. Commander Thatch, probably best known for devising a defensive tactic that allowed the Wildcat formations to act in a coordinated maneuver to counter a diving attack called the Thatch Weave, which helped the Wildcats hold their own against the Japanese Zeros, which were faster and more maneuverable. In all, 7,860 Wildcats were built. During the course of the war, Navy and Marine Wildcats flew 15,553 combat sorties, of which over 14,000 of these were from aircraft carriers, destroying a claimed figure of 1,327 enemy aircraft at a cost of 178 aerial losses, 24 to ground, shipboard fire, and 49 to operational causes. While not the most memorable or best performing fighter of the war, in the same vein as the P-40 for the Army, it was an unsung hero that was there when they needed it at the beginning of the war until better aircrafts could be available, such as the Hellcat or the Corsair. Got friends, F4F Wildcat for Microsoft Flight Simulator is detailed and a joy to fly, and is a must-buy if you like old warbirds. Have a good day and goodbye.